it's normal to struggle. You can't always be a winner. And if you always win, you're never going to learn how to struggle. And when you do struggle or fail something, it's going to be harder for you to understand because you're so used to winning. So I think if you could try to find more opportunities where you can make yourself feel uncomfortable, where you could put yourself in a position where you may potentially not know something or you're going to fail, you're going to grow from that. So keep seeking those things because you're going to always be able to become a better person from those opportunities.
You're listening to the Talking 20 podcast. This podcast is for you if you're in your 20s and you're thinking, what the hell am I doing? We've all been there and we want to talk about it. We're your hosts, Bridget O'Rourke and Mary-Margaret Courtney, and we sit down with fellow millennials to chat about their journey and hear what they've learned along the way. Let's get started. Welcome back to another episode of the Talking 20 podcast. Today we have the Shiftwork athlete on the show, introducing Spencer Barlow. Welcome to the show, Spencer.
Thank you.
Spencer's one of those people whose resume you'd look at and be like, wait, what? He definitely hasn't followed the quote-unquote traditional route through his 20s. He's been in the military, he's worked on cruise ships, he's modeled, he's been a personal trainer, he went to school for firefighting, but wait, there's more, that's not all to it. He also is an athlete who loves to push himself to his limits, participating in triathlons, which I believe he learned to swim for. Is that right?
Yes, correct. Yep.
Crazy. And now he's working shift work at a steel plant in Hamilton, Ontario. So both of these, his athleticism and his shift work, have played into the idea behind his new YouTube channel and podcast series, The Shiftwork Athlete. Not only has he done all the good things, he also has had quite a few valleys in his 20s, financially, relationship-wise, and in his career, so we're going to dive into all of this, and hopefully you can learn from his hindsight. We asked Spencer to be on the podcast before we knew how much he'd done. We knew that he was doing the Shiftwork Athlete, and we connected about that because it started up around the same time that Talking 20 started up, so we were shooting the shit about that. But then from our research, we found out from our research for the interview today, we found out so much more about him. He was the most recent guest at the time that we're recording this, the most recent guest on this podcast called Not All Millennials. Side note, great podcast. You should definitely check it out. Similar niche, good. Great topics, great host. Highly recommend. It was a really good episode. And on that episode, Spencer gave some great insight into his life and his journey, and we're excited to get more out of him and dig even deeper on this one. Yeah. So, like I said, Spencer's a personal trainer, which is how I know him. Spencer was my coach at F45. He kicked my butt multiple times. Are you still doing F45, Spencer?
No, I'm not doing F45. I was doing some of their online stuff at home, and I actually just took a step back from coaching, personal training, so I could focus more on training for the half Ironman that happened 2 weeks ago, and then also all my future endeavors moving forward.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, we're going to dive into that in a little bit. But before we get into that, you've been all over the place, like I mentioned earlier. So can you give us the Coles Notes version, breakdown of a timeline of your life so we can get a feel for, your plan, how it worked, how things played into one another. So where did you start? Where are you now? And take us through your jobs throughout your 20s.
Okay, so a plan is something that is not in my vocabulary because everything seems to be very spontaneous. And the way that I like to look at it is I like to chase curiosity. So if I'm curious about something, I'm like, I'm going to see where this goes. And also I love it when somebody presents an opportunity to me. So when I was younger, I joined the military. Main reason why I started there, as I guess you could say, like me becoming an adult. I didn't grow up with much of a father figure. So my mom was a single mother for a handful of years. I've had different people come through my life that were supposed to be father figures, and I just didn't really see that or connect with them with how they were parenting, I guess you can say. And so I joined the military as a way to instill some discipline in me. I didn't join the military to hurt people. I just wanted to go there to get some life skills. So I was 18 when I went and signed those papers, and basically thought I was going to be doing that for the rest of my life. And honestly, it was the best decision I could have ever made. I built some really strong relationships. I got to learn a lot of good, healthy life lessons, and just being able to build the confidence on taking things head on and not really like shying away, just kind of like, you know, if there's a dark moment, you just kind of tell yourself, I'm just going to soldier on, because at the end of it, there's eventually going to be a light at that tunnel, right? So the military for me was that big aha moment that I was like, okay, like, you know, just get started, see where it takes you, and you don't know what the outcome is going to be like. So I started there, and led me to I don't know what else. Okay, so military, and then I was in the military for about 6 years. The cruise ship opportunity presented itself, and I ended up taking a leave of absence from the military to go and work on the cruise ship, because it was another one of those things where I was like, I've never done this before, and who knows what's going to happen. I was an entertainment host.
Wow.
Yeah, so for Carnival Cruise Line, I got assigned to the Carnival Magic, which was their flagship at the time. I don't know if they've had any more being built or replaced or whatever. But yeah, so they put me on one of the biggest ships, and basically, like, I know the terminology jumped in the fire. Like, I feel like I jumped in the ocean, because the role was just so big and completely outside of my comfort zone. I had to learn quick, adapt to the environment, like in one night. Like, it was nuts. They like, I joined, and they're like, okay, this is what you got to do. Go follow all these people, talk to this person, do that, be funny, learn this skit and roll and dance. And I was just like, holy crap, like this is serious, right? And you're signing a 6-month contract, and you can't just be like, this isn't good for me, I gotta leave. Like, no, it's like, you know, you gotta soldier on and figure it out, right? Yeah, so it's good.
That's sick. Yeah. Okay, so then where did you go from there after the cruise ship?
Okay, so after Carnival, I went back to school. So what I mean by going back is that I actually dropped out of high school because I was like, you know what, like, school isn't doing it for me. I'm just going to do military full time. But there was always that little like itch in the back of my head being like, yo, you got to go back to school. Anyway, so I went to college. That was a personal goal of mine. I was always saying to myself, I'm going to be the first person in my family to go to college, first person to go to college. So I said, you know what, why not? Let's see what's out there for me. And at the time I was starting to become very curious about personal training, and I really loved working out. And so I was like, okay, let's further our skills. Let's take the risk, go to school, and let's open up some more opportunities. And at the time I was living at my best friend's house, and you know, getting OSAP and free money from the government, you could do a lot of fun things with, right? So
until you got to pay it back.
Until you got to pay it back. Yeah, exactly. Still paying it back.
We laugh, but kids don't.
I was like, this is good. No, right? Yeah.
Not advised.
I can't wait. I can't wait till it's all gone. But yeah, so I was like, okay, this is a good opportunity for me to get back up on my feet. Let's go to school, get some money money in my pocket. Cause at the time I was trying to find work. I couldn't get a job anywhere. It was like midsummer when I got back home from the cruise ship. Right. So a lot of places I've already hired people, and, yeah, I couldn't find work. So it was a risk. It was out of desperation, but it was another opportunity for me to get outside my comfort zone, go back to school at 23, and you know, I don't know, just basically like start to learn how to how do I want to say this? Learn to love learning again.
Yes.
Because at the time, like, you know, when we get curious about something or we try something new, we're not thinking about it as a learning opportunity. It's just kind of like, oh, it's just something I have to do. No, let's change the mindset and be like, this is something that I want to learn to do, and how can I continue to further my education, become more in tune with the occupation or course that I am investing my time into, right? So when I went back to school, I was like, okay, this is actually a good thing for me, because I'm learning how to learn my way now, not how high school is telling me how to learn, right? And so I've been able to take those skills from college and keep taking on new opportunities and different courses, and just grow my mindset that, you know what, I could literally learn anything I put my mind to. And just a little backstory to that, I never had a lot of confidence in myself. So I grew up with ADHD and a learning disability, and this is what they quote unquote diagnosed me with, right? You know, those are very, very strong things to say to a kid, because it could manifest into something that, you know, it could control their life, where, you know, it puts a glass ceiling on them, right? And so for the longest time I was like, oh, I have a learning disability, like give me the easy stuff, like I'm an idiot, like I'm not gonna learn anything you're telling me, like just, you know, do it for me kind of thing, right? And so when I went back to college, it just, you know, once again proved to myself that no, you just learn differently. You're going to have to put in more work than the other people, or you're going to have to learn in a different style than how other people can, you know, retain information or memorize or whatever, right? There's so many different ways of learning information. Reading a book is just not your way, but hands-on is, right? So going back to school was one of those things for me that just, like I said, opened up more doors.
Yeah.
Totally.
Oh, there's so much to get in here. I'm happy you did the recap, because as Bridget mentioned, we listened to a podcast that you've just done that kind of gave an overview of your life and some of these crazy things and the journey you've been on. You tell this story in such a encouraging way that I think is very inspiring to people. But I kind of want to go backwards and let's talk about like baby Spencer. When you went into the military, did it serve the purpose at the time that you needed? Did it provide a different type of structure that school wasn't, or was it just another structure that you didn't feel was working for you yet?
I think it served its purpose right away. I mean, when they tell you you need to be in shiny boots and not a single piece of lint on your uniform, like it really kicks you into gear to say like, yo, like this isn't a joke. Like you can't just come in here and half-ass it. Like, you know, they're not going to give you the easy class. They're not going to give you the, you know, pat on the back and say it's okay. Like you have to man up or don't show up. Because they don't want their time to be wasted. And honestly, like as soon as I, you know, put those boots on, put that uniform on, I just became a different person. Because now, you know, people talk about changing masks or wearing different hats. Well, the uniform for me was that I'm now a soldier. I am no longer Spencer Barlow, the kid with ADHD and learning disability, right? So it was served like the change happened as soon as I put the uniform on. I don't know how else to say it. Yeah.
So it
like I feel emotional now thinking about it.
Yeah. So did it give a level of confidence that you were missing before?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Because I always looked up to my best friends. They were very confident. They were very athletic. You know, everybody liked them. I always felt like I was the oddball or the one kid that was a little bit different than everybody, right? Like I always had, I guess you could say, communication issues, or I always felt like people were out to get me for some reason. Like I said, like I don't know if it was from the medication or just the way that I presented myself, but I don't know. It was just I think I wanted to be I wanted a certain title for myself, and I think the military gave me that, where I didn't have that when I didn't have the uniform on.
And when you're in the military, the relationships you grew, was it like a significantly different type of bond than your friends at school?
Yeah, because it was relatable. And I think I was looking for that relatability because, like I said, how I perceive things are completely different than how others see things. Like I still have those best friends till this day, but our paths are completely different. And I'm super grateful for that too, because I learned a little bit from each of them, right? And now that I am, you know, the older Spencer, I'm extremely grateful for the way that I have grown up and how I think about the world and how I tackle different adventures in front of me. And it's like, it's exciting because I'm always like, ooh, what am I going to get into next? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you mentioned medication in that in the interview that you did on Not All Millennials. You mentioned that in high school you decided to go off Ritalin. And I think this is a great thing to dive into because Mary and I can both relate. I've been on medication for ADHD since I was really young.
Okay.
Mary
Wow.
made the active decision not to go on medication. So I want to dive into what your mindset was like, you know, before and after, and why you made that decision to go off of it. Did you feel like there was something missing when you were on it, or was it a rebellious thing? Can you talk about that a little bit?
I feel like my mind wasn't clear, that I was thinking in a way that was going to be dangerous. I think for myself moving forward, if I were to have stayed on it, I remember just being in the hall one day, and I can't remember if it was grade 9 or grade 10. I think I was just kind of by myself, and I was just like thinking like, I don't want to be on this no more. Like I don't like when I'm not on it, I'm goofy, I'm fun, I'm funny, like I'm full of energy, but I'm on this thing and I feel depressed. Like I just hate life. I hated everybody, and I was just like, this has to stop.
Yeah, when were you diagnosed with ADHD?
I think I was on it for 10 years, so like super young, like maybe grade 1 or 2. Like the teachers would always complain I never sat still. I was always bugging the other kids.
What?
Yeah, so like I was a little class clown.
So for anyone
right?
listening, we listened to Spencer talk about this on another podcast, and Bridget and I just know each other's stories very well. And Spencer, to fill you in, like the three of us we would have made a teacher quit if all of us were in the same class. Like,
100%.
We would have loved each other, but man alive, it would have been pure hell. Nothing would have got done. But
we could have ran our own class.
We probably wouldn't have loved each other because we would all be talking over each
it's
other.
True. Bridget and I, yeah, it's true. But man, it's going to make for a great podcast. Exactly. But so you're diagnosed at a young age. Do you remember them explaining to you like what this diagnosis is, what it means, what the medication is going to do for you? Any of that explained to you at that young, ripe age?
For a kid that can't sit still and pay attention to the teacher, I wasn't paying attention to the person that was describing to me what this medication did, right? Like, I had no idea that it was a methamphetamine, and, it's just like all these different chemicals that are involved.
And nobody was watching
you
to ask to see if that personality change happened.
You know what? That's a great question. I'm going to ask my mom. My mom was, she's done everything for me. She's my biggest role model, and she just wanted to see me be successful. There was a story that she was telling me, and I can't remember word for word how it went, but she basically said to me that I came home one day and that I was like hitting myself in the head saying that like I'm dumb and I am not learning anything. And I think I had a moment, and that's all I remember. But I think that's what triggered her to be like, okay, she needs to investigate into what can she do to help me. And that's what she's done her entire life to make sure that I was okay, that I was being successful. And when you're a parent, you try to do everything you possibly can for your child to make sure that they are going down the right path. And that's all my mom ever wanted. Right. So there was a point where I was like kind of resentful to her for putting me on this because I felt like she didn't do enough research into, the long-term effect or the effect of the medication in the short term even, right? Just like, the depression and all the other fun stuff that comes along with it, right? And it's like, now I sit back and I'm like, okay, hold on a second. She was just trying to help you, Spence. Like, don't be mad at her because she was trying to help you. And
the information also wasn't always accessible.
No, it wasn't.
Right? Like depending on, how old are you?
31 now.
Yeah. So you're in and around our age range. Yeah, like how was anyone supposed to know really what those drugs do? I mean, we're in a more naturopathic world now, but we weren't back then. The fearful part of those side effects is things we know more of now, but I would still say there's probably lots of parents out there, maybe someone who might listen to this and be like, wait, what? Like, I didn't realize those side effects could exist. You have to have really good doctors and good people in the room. Absolutely. Your mom was just trying to help you
100%.
And had the information she was given to put you on the path towards success. Right. But for you, like telling this story, I think is super important. And I want to get to the part where you decide to get off of it. Do you have support from teachers, from family, from friends, guidance counselors at school? Were there anyone that was resistant to that decision?
My mom, of course, right? Like, it's one of those things that I was on for so long. So it just kind of became a part of me. She never rebelled. She didn't say, you have to stay on this. She said, okay, we'll figure it out. She's like, you're becoming a man. You know, I don't remember how old you are when you're in grade 10, 15, 16 roughly, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, at that time, you're a teenager. Now I guess you could say you're a lot more rebellious, right? But I was always a good kid. I was never the kid coming home smashed, drunk out of my face or being disrespectful or destructive to her belongings in the house and everything like that. So I think she trusted me as well, right? So it was a 50-50, I'm sure, in her mind, where it's like, okay, let's see where it goes. And she's always been my biggest fan. And I just think along the way, as I matured, I was always just slowly, what's the word here? Building her trust even more, right? Like I said, like just like the choices I've made, for her to see me go and join the military, that was an emotional moment for her. Like, it's just, I've done nothing but made sure in the back of my head that everything that I'm doing moving forward is to make my mom happy. And at the time, my grandparents were alive too, so it was to make them happy and just keep proving to them that, like I said, I am not this kid that this title above my head, this doesn't control me. I'm above that, right? So I think at the time I was always, reinforcing those words that I was changing the story. I'm not the kid with ADHD and learning disability. So, no, I don't think other teachers were really mindful of me taking medication and stuff like that. And when my mom did put me on it, I'm pretty sure she had me on the lowest dose. So like I would take it in the morning and I would take it at lunchtime, and it was, I think it was 10 or 20 milligrams. I can't remember exactly the number, but I think she started with me at the lowest dose. So I'm sure she was aware of what, could happen being on it. And I think her approach was to say, let's start small and see, if we need to give them more or whatnot. So I hope that answers your question.
I'd love to ask my mom about what the decision process was behind my mom and my dad's story, what the decision process was behind putting me on it. I don't know. Like, I've never considered the side effects. I've never noticed any of that kind of stuff happening. I do feel that if I wasn't medicated early on, I wouldn't be where I am today. Like, I just wouldn't have been able to function in school as well. I don't know if I would have found the right tools to get me by without medication. So I'm curious about asking my parents to be like, was that a hard decision, or were they just like, no, Bridget's crazy, you just gotta go on medication?
No, it's a good question to ask, because it's one of those things that it makes you who you are. Like you said, like it helped you. How old are you when you started? Were you on Ritalin as well, or something different?
Yeah, I started on Ritalin. I think I was around the same age. I was in grade 1 or 2, I believe. And then, like, as I got older, I changed to Concerta, which is like a longer acting Ritalin, and then Vyvanse, which is like an even longer acting one. So I don't know if they like came out, if it was like new medications coming out as I got older, or if it was just I don't know why
progression for you.
Yeah.
And when did you get off of it?
Yeah.
I have not. I'm still on it. I'm still medicated. Okay. Yeah.
Wow.
But there is something to that. Like I knowing your parents, I do think they would have monitored your mood very closely. You're same as you, Spencer. Like Bridget is a funny, rambunctious, loud, outgoing person, and those medications can take you the other way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mine was just like, to be honest, I think because I have ADD and dyslexia, so my biggest problem came into like reading aloud. Or the way I had to process information. So once I got into high school, I pretty much got used to like sit in your chair and just don't do anything or go to the bathroom. Find an excuse to leave class entirely, and then your problem's gone away, was what I did. Right. But when I decided to not go on medication, it was because I was watching, like, the school really wanted me in law class for some reason. And then I found out it was like the numbers were low in law class. And they were like, well, if you want to like be in this kind of class, you need to do academic this and this and this, but you have a learning disability. So like, and I remember a guidance counselor saying to me, well, you can't pick your professors because those professors aren't going to be with you your entire life. And in my head, I was like, neither's Ritalin. So don't tell me Ritalin's going to solve my problem. But this really good teacher who's been mentoring me, who ironically is still a person in my life, and we even interviewed on this podcast. So they were already wrong about that.
Yeah.
Oh, no way.
But
it's
like
amazing.
Their perspective was like, don't find a crutch to hang on because you're not always going to have that as your way to get through. And in my head, I was like, what the hell am I doing taking this drug? And I was just in a lucky scenario that I was on the lowest dose of Ritalin. I was on it for, I'd have to ask my mom how long, probably a few months, maybe a year. I don't know.
Wow.
And then I just stopped taking it and I learned how to cope without it. But I do think in certain circumstances, like Bridget, your ADHD.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I do think in certain circumstances, it's like, hey, this is going to help you be the best version of yourself, and properly dosed and medicated is going to lead you down the path of success. And like, I like Spencer, the identity thing is crazy. I relate so much to it, and I think so many kids do, but I just don't think teachers and students, other students, colleagues, whatever you call them, understand how painful it is when you have a learning disability and have to go into a system that works against you every single day.
Yeah, they don't try to adapt to like how you learn something, right? But you know what? It's a give or take. Like, you know, I didn't let school come in either, right? Like, I just kind of said, this is what it is. Like, I can't learn nothing, right? So I'm just going to be difficult. And, you know, school said, all right, well, if you're going to be difficult, here's the easy stuff. If you pass it, you know, good for you. If you don't, then you're just coming right back, right? And I think every school is different. All teachers are different on how they handle things. But just to go back to you guys talking about like mood swings and stuff like that, that was something that was huge for me too. My friends were like, yo, one day you're super happy and it's great talking to you, and the other day you're just a complete asshole. And I think one day I kind of sat back, I'm like, what is wrong with me?
Yeah.
You know what I mean, right? Bridget, so now hearing my story, does that make you think a little bit about your experience with Ritalin and still being on it? I'm actually quite fascinated that you're still using it, because I would never even have thought, because like I don't know, it's just not something you think about with anybody, right? You know what I mean, right? Like, I'm just curious about what your mindset.
She's seat buckled to the chair. She can't.
You can't see my feet right now. They're crazy. I also think like with Mary, I feel like by the time I was in high school, it was almost like I was very fortunate in the way that like I was good at school, and I think that was probably only because of the medication. So I never really thought twice about it. I never had any side effects. But if I was in a position that I had to choose to go on it in high school or not, like I hadn't been on it beforehand, there probably would have been a lot more deliberation involved. Like I probably would have been wondering, if I need it, how can I come up with strategies to manage all of the things that are coming from ADHD. But I don't, like, as of right now, I'm happy I'm still on it, because there have been days when I'm not on it and I just can't, like, I can't do things. And that might be because my body has just been adapted to it so much. In fact, that probably is. Like, if I was off it for a year and came up with strategies, I know when I want to have a baby, if I'm going to be pregnant, I'm going to have to come off it, and I'm going to have to figure out strategies for that. And that's something that I'm worried about. But I'm interested because I just never thought of it as an option. Like, it just never really crossed my mind to not continue taking it. So this is a super interesting conversation, because I'm like, I wonder. Probably a bad idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it is complex in the sense of if you at that time, because you are an academic, like your brain does work in that way. You edit like a madman. You can work like a madman. You could hustle out. Like, I know you're like giggling to yourself, but like me on the other side, I'm like, man, Bridge has a work ethic that like I wish I had. And maybe if I was on medication, I would have it. But I also know what my strong suit is, and I know the thing I'm good at, and I don't need Ritalin to do the thing I'm good at. Whereas in your situation, there are other variables, and there is something to say, like, from my knowledge, ADD, ADHD, all these things, it is a spectrum. It all kind of moves within the same world. But there is a reason they're diagnosed differently, or at least there used to be. And for each of us, like, our situation and our diagnosis was so differently. But the interesting piece is all of us are so about health and nutrition.
Hold on, I got one question before did you pass the literacy test?
Yeah.
Where you had to write an essay?
Yeah.
I failed it. I failed it 3 times. I couldn't. That's why I dropped out of school, and I actually had to go back to Red Hill, that offered it as a course, because I could not like you. So I was also dyslexic as well. it's just something I don't talk about. And that's another reason why it took me so long to have a podcast and YouTube and stuff like that, because I was so afraid of writing and speaking publicly, because sometimes I would tongue tie my words and things just didn't feel like they came out properly, or sentence structure was just kind of like, is that English? But yeah, I couldn't pass the literacy test for the life of me. And I did everything I could, try to learn it, master it. Teachers helped me. And then eventually I went back to Red Hill, and that's when I was able to finally pass it as a course instead of actually writing it as a sit in your desk with all the students kind of thing.
Which I've always disagreed with the way that they do that. Just like tests in general. People, like, some people need it as a course. Some people need to go out into the world and do it. So, like,
right.
Not everybody can sit down at a table under pressure and write an essay. It just doesn't make sense that that's the system that they put every single person into.
Right.
Totally. And like the school system overall, I will try to talk about without getting enraged. But we're seeing that with COVID, like the breakdown of it and the breakdown of like the learning system, where the like kids could have still been provided like life skills and things that they could be doing on a daily base to learn about themselves. And I'm listening to a lot of podcasts learning about, what do they call it? It's like emotional education or whatever. So it's like teaching kids about like feeling their feelings and why they're feeling that way. And also you're human and that's okay, but let's learn coping skills. And like, we don't learn that. People like Bridget, Spencer, and Mary had to learn that, or else we wouldn't have gotten through school. And we would have just ended up in trouble all the time. The three of us have learned coping skills. I have a question for you, Spencer. So when you say, because you've been saying this whole time, which I was going to ask, ADHD and a learning disability, is that because you mean ADHD and dyslexia?
ADHD, learning disability. I had it all. Like I said, like I couldn't write anything, understanding words. Like I still mix things up. Come and came, like those two there. Like my girlfriend now, she's very literate. Her mom was like a journalist or something like that, and so like she catches those words that I mix up, and it's been actually extremely helpful because, you know, now that I'm talking more publicly, to have somebody be like, you sound like an idiot. She doesn't say that, but that's what I hear when somebody corrects me.
I was going to ask you, when people correct you, does it like send a tingle down your entire body and you're like, okay,
I'm grateful.
Oh,
I'm
really?
grateful. No, I have taught myself to literally thrive off of feedback, because like I said, I'm on this journey now to constantly be a better version of myself. So if you aren't open-minded to take feedback, then you're never going to grow. And if you said something wrong, great, there's a learning opportunity, right? So it's always taking those little small positive cues and just devour them, and you're just like moving forward in life. You know, if you're so defensive to something, you're never gonna grow. You might as well just dig a hole and live in it, right? So I'm like, I'm doing something wrong. Sweet, what can I do to, you know, be better at whatever it is that I'm doing wrong? So
I think that's
change the mindset of it.
Yeah, that we can all take.
Like from the dyslexia side, I know I'm wrong. I know I'm 100% wrong. It's so deeply embedded in me. And I've gotten used to Bridget is probably the only person in my life where when she corrects me, I feel the feeling and I'm like, she's right. Just move on. It's fine. And I've like accepted it. But like the other day I posted something and my mom called me and she's like, do you want me to edit your post? And I got so mad at her. And I was like, that's not how it works. That's not how social media works, which is true. Like if I sent her every post I was going to post, like that would be mind-numbing.
It's overwhelming,
I also
right?
don't think most of my posts through well enough to be like, can you edit that? No, I'm posting it. It's out. Go. So if it's something that can't be edited, and Bridget's great, she's like, so that was wrong, so I deleted it. So I can't even be mad because it's done. Like it's deleted, it's gone. And like when we first started this podcast,
hey, but I'll like save it so that we can edit it and then repost it.
That's very nice of you that you even save it.
Compliment sandwich. She always gives me like the great parts of it too, but she's like, but also you totally spelt your own name wrong.
It's so easy to be like that, right? Because when you like come to a point in your life where you're like, okay, I'm growing up, I learned everything, like, you know, this shouldn't be something that it should be resurfacing, right? But when it happens all the time, it's like, okay, I'm wrong. I'm wrong all the time. I'm wrong. Yes. Okay. I'm growing now. Thank you. Right. And it's funny you say that. My girlfriend this morning, I made the post about my podcast with the CrossFit athlete, and I hear Erin in the kitchen. She's like, Spats. And I'm like, what? She's like, your post is, you spelled something wrong. There's so many errors. And I'm like, oh, okay, babe, thank you. I'll bring my phone over. Right. And it's just like,
so what you need to do is bring her in, and just like Bridget just does that stuff where I'm like, we know Mary's wrong. It goes through Bridget before it goes out. Mary doesn't press post anymore.
That's, you know, I'm going to have to start paying her though, if it comes to that point. Because
That's true.
Now running this channel and stuff like that, like, oh yeah,
it's a lot of work.
I call her my editor.
Yeah. My girlfriend / editor.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that.
So as we've talked about like your journey, we've kind of gone into like where your confidence and your passion has come from. Again, I just want to give you credit to learning how to lean into your learning disability. You will do the world justice by being your authentic self and being open and okay with some of these things. Like, I'm super excited to see where everything that you're doing goes, because it's yeah.
And same for you girls too, right? Like, I love it. Like I say, I always message you guys. I'm like, Bridget, can I come over and watch how you edit? Or, you know, like, it's just like, there's so many different things that you guys are doing. And it's just like, you know, even the fact now learning that you two have also experienced ADHD or have it, like, that for me is also making me feel more comfortable to talk about it as well, right? Like, I would be super shy to even tell anyone, or if I was going to date a girl, like, how would she look at me if I had these like deficiencies and stuff like that, right? Now I'm just like, I don't care. It is what it is. Like, take it or leave it. And, you know, like, this is me just being that authentic self. And like, no regrets. I enjoy having it. And, you know, like I said, like, when I get the opportunity to be curious about something else, because my mind is like, ooh, squirrel. Like, I'm like, okay, let's chase the squirrel. It's a squirrel. What is he doing?
Awesome. Yeah.
It's interesting how that becomes like as you get older, you become more okay with talking about it. Like, I would have died if anybody in high school knew that I had ADHD. So that was part of, you know, the meaning behind the podcast is like, let's just talk about all this shit that everybody goes through that none of us talk about, that we can all like connect over and talk about and communicate.
It's refreshing.
Yeah, it is. It's super refreshing, and it's refreshing to talk to you guys about, you know, something that I was also so scared about people knowing for the majority of my life.
Yeah. But it's what makes you this awesome version of yourself that you are. Like, I don't want to know non-ADHD Bridget.
I thought you were going to say unmedicated Bridget. I'm like, no, you don't want to know her.
I'm sure I've known that version of you.
Definitely.
But it's nice now, you know, talking to other people that have it. It's like, you know, you're not alone. And it's funny. It's like I had a podcast idea that we could potentially talk about, but, you know, going into the more details of ADHD and talking to people with ADHD and making them feel not alone and stuff like that, because it is something that it can be very detrimental to your mental health, right? And you know, like, it's scary.
Well, that gets us into the whole fitness journey.
Let's go there.
I wanted to bring it up before, but we ADHD brains, we all went a different way. But Bridget and I, in the past few years, with our relationship with physical fitness, mental health, food, and learning disabilities, we are learning. There's a lot of research being done, but for ourselves, if we eat a certain way, it's like a gold mine to productivity and focus and rest and all of those things. I have so much to share about that.
Yay!
Bridget and I have been talking about pushing that boundary a little bit more of like, how much is food a variable in the level that my ADHD is getting in the way? And for me, it's massive. Like, it's absolutely massive and so evident. Like, it's the smallest bit of sugar or lack
100%.
Of sleep or dairy, gluten. You can name all the things. But yeah, for you, what's been your journey with that?
So another emotional topic for me is that I can honestly say that fitness saved my life. If I didn't start working out, like, it was the outlet for me to like put that energy towards something. Because not like I didn't have something like what you had, Mary, with theater. I didn't have anything that I could really put my energy into to allow it to, I guess, make me grow to be a better person, I guess you can say. Like I love video games. That was an escape for me from reality, so I would go there, but that wasn't really allowing me to grow in the real world. So when I started to work out, I started to see the benefits. I started to see that, okay, if I put my energy here, I could be more calm and balanced here, which was class and everything else, right? And to relate to, you know, the eating as well. At the time, I wasn't really mindful about nutrition and very low educated. Like I would eat, I think it was... there's a pizza place I'd go to honestly every single day, Little Caesars, and you know, like my diet at the time wasn't good, but I right, it's good, right? $5
so good.
Get you a lot, right? So the nutrition component wasn't there for me just yet, but the fitness was, right? So I really enjoyed working out, lifting weights. I had a gym teacher, Mr. Romano. He was this Italian guy, but he was jacked, right? And you know, he'd be in the weight room, you know, he's like, I gotta squat, I gotta do bench press. He was always showing us his muscles and stuff like that. I was like, I want to look like him one day. And you know, ever since I started to understand that this place of testosterone is actually helping me in a way that I didn't even think twice of. And I think honestly, that's where my fitness journey started. And that's why, like, if I miss a day, I'm scared. Because like it is so a part of me, and you know, there's people that look at me like, oh, you're crazy, like, you know, you're always working out, like, why do you, what's the point? And like I think at the time when I would be asked those questions, I never would think of the reason why I started working out was to help me with my ADHD, and like I said, it saved my life. So working out has just been such an evolutionary, like, growth, like, component to who I am today, if that makes any sense.
So what was your mental, so you're putting a lot of emphasis on it saving your life, and was there a mental struggle there that if you didn't get into fitness, you know, things might have
because I didn't have anything else.
Yeah.
I didn't have anything else. Like, all I cared about was going home, playing video games, and not having friends or anything like that. So being a part of the gym scene allowed me to connect with other people and start to, like, you know, build that confidence again. I might have not joined the military at the time because I was a skinny, scrawny kid, right? And so, like I said, being in the gym, you know, there's just something, the power that you get about seeing weight increase for you as you continue to work out, right? So just being like, oh, okay, if I can move this weight, what else can I do now that I have this strength, right? And so, you know, just working out kept opening up other doors of opportunities to, like I said, getting into triathlon and OCR. I competed in CrossFit. I did running competitions. Like, there's just so many things that I've done fitness wise and as an individual sport too, because being on sports teams never worked for me either. I was on the basketball team, I was on the football team, but you know, coming down to ADHD, I couldn't remember anything. So you get me out there, I'd mess up the whole thing and do something completely different. So those didn't work for me, right?
Yeah.
Oh, squirrel. So I found a lot of love in the individual sports, and working out was one of those things. And I don't know, if I didn't have working out, like, video games would have been that thing for me, that other option for getting my energy out, but that wasn't making me successful. That wasn't controlling my energy specifically in a way that I could, you know, be at a balanced mindset and go to class and be fine. You know what I mean? It was like, okay, lunchtime's here, I get to work out. Like, that's my second dose of Ritalin for the day. Now I can sit through class and focus. You know what I mean? So it was just being able to find that other outlet that really helped me, you know, be a healthier version of myself. So
that's incredible. And for the food side, like, when does that start kicking into gear for you where you're like, oh yeah, nutrition, this helps?
I noticed the difference once I started to cut back on the sugar and stuff like that. And honestly, that probably didn't start to happen probably, I would have to say 20s, like early 20s, just because I didn't care. And, you know, growing up, like I said, I always saw my best friends as role models and wanted to fit in. So there's always, you know, the involvement of alcohol. So I was still working out and stuff like that, but I'd be drinking, I'd be eating junk food, and not really putting the two together that, yeah, if I'm having, you know, sugar at 3 a.m. in the morning and alcohol, like I'm not going to be able to operate. So there was, like, you know, still big windows of my life where I wasted a lot of time on growing quicker, right, I guess you can say. Mm-hmm. So when I got into my 20s, I started to do more research into, you know, supplements and how these guys ate to build more muscle, because before I was just doing it with an uneducated mind. I was like, this is an outlet for me. It's fun. I'm going to lift weights. I'm going to run and just do all the fun, crazy stuff. And so I think once I was able to become more independent and not live at my parents' house and have more control of the food, because, you know, if you're living by yourself, you now have to spend your money in a way that it's gonna last, right? So, you know, going and get junk food and stuff like that wasn't making me feel full. I couldn't operate. I was always hungry. So, you know, I got into just eating literally rice, chicken, and veggies for probably a handful of years because they're healthy. I was seeing results physically from it. Like, I probably didn't get abs until I was like 18, 19. You know what I mean? Like, that's, unless I was just maturity.
Still pretty good.
Yeah, I was going to say, pretty sure I've never gotten abs, so.
I didn't get abs until my teenage years.
I don't know. There's some kids I know, like grade 5, they have abs. They're ripped, little monsters, right? So.
Yeah, but screw them.
Jealous of all those tiny little humans.
Right, screw those guys.
Yeah, but like 19 is when people are getting their freshman 15. Like, that's when people are losing their abs because they're drinking, they're going off to school, they're spending their own money and eating poorly. And my big thing is, like, Bridget and I we have like a fantasy to do this, is like to start coming up with like healthy routines for people that are feasible, because that was my biggest thing. Was when I was in college, I didn't really have a desire to eat healthy, but like I thought I was eating healthy, and now I look back and I'm like, what was I doing? Right. So it's like the knowledge wasn't there, but then when the knowledge was there, it was like, how do I do this on a budget?
Right.
And then like learning about food, like it just never ends. You always think you're doing it the right way, and then you learn something else that's bad in your diet, and you try to kick that. You know what I mean? Like, it just never ever ends. So you have to be really passionate about it, which all of us, I think, are quite passionate about the subject of it. But when you're 19 and you're starting to get abs and eat healthy, like, I think you're doing damn good, because that took me till I was 29.
Hey, that's good. At least it's starting somewhere, right? Like, you know, it's just, like you said, it comes down to education and putting the time and grit into it, and it'll happen eventually. So
So how do you
That's awesome.
Okay, wait, sorry. We have all of these questions written down here, and I'm trying to figure out which one to go into.
Because we've asked almost none of them, because this has just been its own spark of creativity.
It's just gone a completely different way. Okay, so let's talk about, in the podcast that you were talking on that we listened to earlier, Not All Millennials, you talked about your financial journey when you were in your early 20s and how it didn't go very well. So can you talk about that a little bit, so we can give the listeners an idea of your financial background and what you did to fix it?
Okay. Finances is a funny one. I feel like it all comes back down to, you know, this person I was trying to be and comparing again, right? Like, you know, my friends, they all had cars when they were 16. I didn't get mine until I was like 19, 20, right? And finances have never been my strong pillar in life. You know, I already have the money spent before I have it. And I just think that comes back down to, you know, the lack of education of how money works, and that it's valuable. It's not something that you just take it, spend it, and just, you know, hope and pray that it's coming back again. It's like, you got to actually cherish it. And at the time, I was very arrogant towards my finances. And I think it's just because, you know, not to use ADHD as an excuse, but everything is compulsive, right? So, like I said, how I operate in life is very, very much out of curiosity with not much thought behind it. It's kind of like learn the hard way first and then learn, 10 years down the line, right? So for me, it was everything, I guess, is backwards at the time. So any sort of money I made, I would spend it, and I was digging myself a hole. I had credit cards, I had three of them, a $500, $5,000, a $15,000. I bought the car on one. I ended up getting in an accident with the car, so that shot my insurance through the roof. I ended up getting a new car. I ended up getting sucked into the whole car scene of like modding your car and being part of the car club, Fast and Furious kind of thing, right? Without the speed. So I just made stupid choices. They weren't logical. They were just very compulsive, and I didn't really have any sort of financial mentors there to support me, to say, hey, what you're doing, or sorry, correction, I did. I went on a show, Princess, like the girl that I was with at the time, she nominated me to be on that show, Princess. So yeah, I got on the show because they heard my story and they're like, yo, that's absolutely insane. You bought a car with a Visa card, you have all this debt, you're living life like you're like, in the high life, you're some rich guy, but realistically you have nothing. You're working 3 jobs, you're struggling paycheck to paycheck, and you're putting all your money into your car, because that's all I thought about, right? I neglected everything else, and like I said, everything was very compulsive. So once I went onto the show, they give you 3 challenges. The first one was live out of my car in a trailer park for a week to show me this is where you're going to be if you don't change your act. You might lose your relationship, you might lose the roof that's over your head, and you're going to be living out of your car because that's all you care about. The second one was learning how to like have a side hustle, I think was kind of the concept behind it, but I had to go and raise money at a car wash. So I can't really remember exactly what the learning behind that was specifically.
How to make money when you don't know how to make money.
Yeah, like I was already working 3 jobs, but okay. I did that, and I raised some money. It was a good time with my friends. And then the third thing was to take out the people that I cared the most about. That's why that's why I fundraised the money, to take out people. Instead of spending it all on me, they were teaching me how to not be so, I guess, greedy. And not that I was just kind of like, I have a little bit of money, so I'm just going to spend it on myself. Sorry. And so at the time, I guess you could say the people around me were also being neglected, not in a financial, I guess you could say in a financial way, but yeah, so just putting more focus on, like everything doesn't revolve around Spencer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
is what they're trying to teach me. And so the three challenges that Gail Gosley gave me, I passed them all with flying colors. At the end of it, you win money. And then they also, along the way, while they're filming, they introduce you to people that, like a trustee. So they give you 3 options: bankruptcy. There's another one where basically the bank will get money and the trustee will get money. I can't remember exactly what it was called. And then the other one was... I'm so sorry. I can't remember the names. Anyways, they gave me 3 options, and I ended up going with one of the options, which is where they decreased my debt. They brought it down to $9,000. I won the 5, and so I took that money. I paid off, I guess 60% of that $9,000 there, and I had $4,000 left. And so, I just worked and I paid the rest of it off. That's how I was able to get back up on my feet and start to kind of have a little bit more financial literacy inside my pocket. And I ended up getting my own apartment. I sold my car. I ended up getting like a used car, and I was starting to make much healthier spending choices. And honestly, ever since I was on that show, there's times that I would make a compulsive buy, but I think every time I do that, I maybe would take a step back and be like, was that smart? Right. So the jobs after being in the military weren't very fulfilling. Like I went like I said, back to school, hoping that I could get into being a personal trainer, a very successful personal trainer, making good money. But like that was such an emotional roller coaster. And my finances basically just followed that same pattern with my jobs. Right? I wasn't making enough money to fend for myself. I got into a relationship where basically it was like codependent. Like my girlfriend at the time, amazing woman. Like I have nothing but positive things to say about her. She did everything she could to support me and my endeavors and my crazy way of thinking. But yeah, like finances really took a toll on my personal life and my relationships. And like now looking back, like, like it sucks that I had to go through those things, but you got to struggle to grow. And that was just another one of those things for me that it was like I took a risk trying to get in the fitness industry. I knew what it was going to be like. I knew it was going to be a struggle. And there's just things that unfortunately there's opportunities that I lost there that unfortunately I can't get back, right? So
there's a lot to learn from.
I hope I explained it.
Yeah, totally. There's a lot to learn from your finances are such an important thing that, again, in school, we're not necessarily given that guidance properly on understanding what money can be and how it can be used. And Bridget and I talked about that on a past episode, like just even learning about like investments and having a house and like having good credit and things like that. If you're not in a situation where you have parents to help you through that, or like you brought it to your learning disability, I would agree with that. Like, absolutely. If you have a learning disability, you're going to process numbers differently. You're going to process information differently. And it may just be harder to come up with a plan and stick to the plan and stay organized. But when you go through this whole journey on the TV show, it obviously made an impact for you, changed things. Were you able to see like a little bit more inside you? Was there something you were compensating for? Like, was part of buying things a part of like a lack of happiness or a sense of loss or not knowing who you are as a person? Like, was there something deeper attached to your spending habits than just poor management?
Yeah, 100%. Like I said, it came down to comparing. I just wanted to be the normal kid too. All my friends had the shiny toys. Like I should be able to have them too, right? And I just did it at a higher risk without thinking about what the negative side effect of that risk is going to be, right? And so for me, that just kept digging me a hole. But I had all the shiny toys, and I think another thing too for me, as I was growing up, I started to learn that I wasn't the ugly guy as well. Like girls were always hitting on me, and so I always wanted to like have the nice clothes and just fit that like that entitlement that these people see me, right? So I was always trying to show up to the plate being like, oh, I'm this guy, but actually behind the scenes, this is the bullshit that I'm actually dealing with, right? So there's that entitlement and probably ego as well. Like I learned a lot about my ego along the way and like how to shut that person up and not listen to it and try to be something that I wasn't. Like I said, for the longest time, it was always comparing and be something that I wasn't. So yeah, I think that's what I was filling with just spending money ruthlessly and just being so compulsive on the choices that I made. And like I said, it was bringing me down another dark path that I didn't want to go down no more.
Yeah. And it's a huge lesson over the years. Like I've even been learning just, it makes sense in your head, but when you're younger, you're like, when I make X amount of money, it'll just solve my problems. When I make X amount of money, but it never does. Like you're never just, your financial problems are never just fixed if you don't deal with the core issue at hand there, right?
Right.
Yeah. So it's so interesting. I'd never heard of this TV show. When I heard you talking about it at first, I was like, this is insane, and I think everybody has to go through that.
Yeah, it's super
For
smart.
sure. Yeah, it was a good reality check.
Yeah, do you think about that? Like, has it changed? Obviously, it has changed the way that you think about money now, and you don't find that you have those habits anymore? Or do you ever find yourself falling back into those habits, and you have to kind of like snap out of it?
I do think about the show often. It has established a strong foundation for me because it's like I never want to be in that situation again. Like, don't get me wrong, I'll still have my moments of impulse, but now it's a little bit more of a logical impulse. So this is one of my recent impulse. Probably about 2 years ago, I was like, you know what? Like, I'm making good money now at the job that I'm working at. I love video games, and I see all these Twitch guys, making YouTubes, and I was like, I'm gonna be a Twitch streamer. I don't know why. So I was like, I'm gonna go down this route, and so I bought all the high-end computer and everything like that, and all the fancy gear, and it's great that those things don't. I think the word is depreciate. Like, you don't lose value very quickly. Mm-hmm. So I noticed that it was taking a toll on my relationship. It wasn't working out very well, and so I did a hard stop, and I was like, okay, let's sell it all. So I sold it all, and you take a little bit of a financial loss, but it was easy for me to see that this wasn't working for me and be able to cut the tie sooner than later, right? And that led me into finding out something else. It was like, oh, okay, let's try the YouTube thing. Let's have a vlog. Let's see how I can integrate the people around me that are most important to me to be a part of what it is that I'm doing, and then put the money in places in a more strategic way. So like I said, I also have my moments of weakness, but I ended up reading that Rich Dad Poor Dad book not too long ago, and that was just like, whoa, liabilities and assets. Like I think at the time, Gail Ghazi and stuff like that was teaching that to me, but I was still too young to actually listen. And once again, it was like the learning pains that I had to go through to get me to where I am now. So I'm extremely grateful. Like, I'm making great money, and now it's like, okay, I'm opening new doors for myself in a way that I'm going to be able to build financial wealth and hopefully, fingers crossed, financial freedom, so I could do more things like give back to people. There's, I would love to start my own charity at some point. Like, there's so many things I want to do now with why I want to make more money. And, maybe if I didn't go through those things then, I would not be thinking about how I want to spend or make money
right
now.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So during all this time, through your changes in your careers, through your fitness journey, through your financial journey, all those things, it's changed you, morphed you into the more resilient and thrill-seeking person that you are. How has this affected your relationships? Like, was there a loss of significant others, friends, family, as you got away the toxic habits, got away the things in your life that were not helping you succeed? Did you see, like a change in those people, those social circles, and the relationships you had?
Not so much friends. I just think now I'm very selective on how I utilize my time. But yeah, like my past relationship, like, it was almost a 3-year relationship, and my finances played a big part into the connection and the things that we got to do. And, there's a lot of arguments about money, and I could say that was a big contributor. There was other things obviously as well, like that we could have worked through, but yeah, it came down to finances. And I just wish that, at the time of the relationship, I could have been more financially stable to be fair. Like, I felt like I wasn't fair. Just because of the job. Like, I was very stubborn about wanting to leave the job that I was in. Like I said, working the gyms and stuff like that. And at the time I was trying to build my own business, and like, I was like, I'm going to make it eventually. You got to believe in me. You know what I mean? So like, it wasn't that I was like being selfish in a way where I wasn't working. Like, I was constantly grinding. Like, I had Spencer Barlow Fitness. I had Hamilton Fitness Motivation going. Like, I was just constantly like just trying to just make something give for me, you know what I mean? But I was just becoming so emotionally drained. Like, you would have a client and then you'd lose a client, and when you lose a client, you lose a handful of money. So it was just like this, like I said, once again, emotional roller coaster. So it took a toll on my relationship. And don't get me wrong, my girl at the time, she believed in me. She was there for me every step of the way. And it just came down to a point where we also came to learn about each other that, I wanted to like build an empire. She wanted to start a family, for example. So that's basically where the relationship had to separate, because, for me, it hurts me knowing that I can't give her what she wants now, and I'm not ready for it now. So for us, we had to come to agreement that, I'm going to continue to focus on this path of building wealth and trying to help other people. And she wanted to establish a family and stuff like that. We're the same age, and you know what? At the end of the day, it's like I'll forever love this person, but I want to see her happy, right? So that was just something that I had to let go and let her grow. And now she's with somebody. She's extremely happy, and I'm like, I sit back and I'm like, okay, that was a smart decision. You know what I mean? Like, good. Like, now I'm able to not be so impulsive or hold on to somebody, be like, no, just believe in me. You know what I mean? Like, that's just not healthy, right? And so, it's nice to now know that she's now always going to be my friend, and so not someone that's going to hate me, right? So, like I said, as I got older and became more aware of like, money and all those things, like, sometimes you just gotta take a step back and look at the bigger picture. And like, I ended up getting out of the whole fitness thing. Like I said, like obviously now I'm a crane operator for a big steel making factory here in Hamilton, right? That has opened so many doors for me, because now I'm financially stable and I could do literally whatever I want. I only work 14 days a month, right? So having the freedom to do what I want when I'm off from work, I have vacation days and stuff like that. But, I had to struggle a bit to get to this point now. You know what I mean? So
yeah, that's
totally
ramble.
Which but it actually, like, I'm like, oh my God, shift worker athlete.
It makes so much sense.
It makes so much sense. But it does. Like, there's like a lot of intention behind why you're a shift worker, and there's a lot of intention behind why you're an athlete, and they completely align with each other in your whole story and your journey.
Perfect niche.
Oh, that makes me feel good to hear.
Niche.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank
it's
you.
so cool, and it's just incredible.
And you're clearly passionate about both of these things.
Oh, I love it. I can't like it's hard to sleep some days because I'm just like, ooh, I have a new idea.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So we can't walk away without talking about some of the fitness stuff you're doing. You are 5 weeks away from your Spartan marathon.
Ultra marathon, yeah.
What the hell is a Spartan marathon? This is Sparta! What is this?
Nobody's getting kicked into any holes, okay? Let's just clarify that.
Okay.
So what is it?
Okay. So, OCR, which is obstacle course racing, is something that I've done for a handful of years now. I think 2014 or 2013 is when I first started getting into them. And so there's different companies. There's Tough Mudder. What is it? There's X-Men Race. I have all my medals here. Mud Hero. And then there's Spartan Race. So Tough Mudder and Spartan Race are the two that kind of set the bar when it comes down to OCR racing. And Tough Mudder is 17 kilometers, and you do about 15 to 20 obstacles along the way. It's usually at like a ski resort, and Spartan Race does the exact same thing.
Okay, wait, I have a question about this. So Tough Mudder is like the thing that we see everybody on Instagram posting about. It's everybody's Bumble picture of them at Tough Mudder. Do they train for this for like months like you are, or like I just thought it was like a fun, like, hey, you busy Saturday, let's just go do this fun thing?
You know what? There are people out there that just go and do it, right? So, I mean, if you have any sort of well-rounded fitness, I feel that anybody can complete it. So there's completing it, and then there's competing in it. I personally like to compete in it. So for me, when I go and sign up for these races, it's not just to finish it. It's also to set a bar for myself. So when I do come back to it, I get to beat that bar. And I keep climbing that ladder every time that I go back to it. Or if I am podiuming it, if I do get to a race and I win, or I get in the top 3, it now opens up my mind to be like, okay, what other races can I compete in? How can I continue to train or compete against the best, right? So for me, it's just, I don't know why. I like trying to train as a peak athlete, right? So every time I sign up for something, I go into it as if I'm going to win it, and not necessarily to like. I don't know. It's almost to win it for myself, to know that I am always growing, right? Like, yeah, it's cool to win money and whatnot, but like, I don't really care about that. For me, it's like, I just want to prove to myself that, I could win things. Like I want to be number one on the podium for myself. You know what I mean? So every time I go and do this, it's that self reassurance that, you know what, you're doing something good, man. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep working out, keep training, keep staying healthy, keep getting good sleep, keep, you know, because like, I think when you're always that positive, that energy is translated to other people around you, right? So I want to build a community off of that positivity. I want people to be inspired and motivated, right? So like I said, like if I podium and I win, I don't give a shit about the prize. For me, it's like, okay, I'm doing something good and other people are happy and they see me doing cool things and they want to aspire to do that. Well, come on board. Let's all do it together.
That's fantastic.
Sparta.
I love that.
Seeing you get all revved up about it. But it's fantastic, and it is, it's admiring. You can see how it gets addicting for people where they do like one after another and all those things. But it is admiring because I think a lot of people go through thinking like I could never do something like that, and hearing the like complete it or compete in it. And for me, I'm like, that's true. Like I've never considered doing a mud race or something like that. I'd love to do one. But I never, actually, that's not true. My friends, right before COVID, signed me up for a rough mudder, which is where you do it with your dog.
Nice.
Like
awesome.
RUFF mudder?
That's awesome. That is so cool. I've never heard of that.
It never happened because of COVID. But yeah, I was like, that. I'll do that, sure. Although my dog is way more athletic than me. But when you started, was that the goal? Like, let's try and place? Or were you like, let's just try one of these and complete it?
Yeah, like I said, it's just, you know, following curiosity. I was like, I have this fitness. I mean, I was good in the military. Like let's just keep seeing where I could take my fitness. But you know, just going back to you mentioning about not like you're interested in doing it, but it's something that probably intimidates you, right? That's the best thing. Like it intimidates me, and it's also like another form of support to keep me working out and staying healthy. Because you know, if I go to that race and I didn't eat well, I didn't sleep, I didn't put in the time to exercise and be at, you know, it doesn't have to be peak performance, but just be fit, then I'm letting myself down. And then I'm also letting the people around me that I have told down as well. So I always tell clients or anybody that is interested about getting into fitness is find something that fucking scares the hell out of you. And
but that could be a me.
5K race. Good though. Like everything it should scare you.
To not do it.
Right? But were you not scared when you went to university or college? Were you not scared when you took that first job? Were you not scared when you went on that first date? It's the same fucking feeling, because if you don't put yourself in a situation where, you know, it may not work out for you, then you're just never going to know what the end result is going to be.
Yeah, but Spencer, those times, those were times that I never like threw up.
I'm gonna vomit.
If I push myself in fitness, I'm gonna throw up.
But what if you don't throw up though, right? What if you go there and you actually, you know, get the beer at the end and then you throw up after?
Perfect.
It's like, okay, you had too much to drink, right? So, you know, at the end of Tough Mudder, you get a beer, and that's a big reward for a lot of people, right? Oh, Mary's in, she's about to flip the table.
Fucking yes, beer.
No,
signing up right now.
Yeah.
Right, but like finding something that scares you, you have to gravitate towards that, right? Like it's just like if you want a support system or something that, you know, when it comes down to weight loss or strength gain or whatever it may be, just being generally fit is always having something to strive for. You know, I always use the carrot terminology in the horse. Like the horse is always going to move forward because it sees the darn carrot in front of its face, right? So I use signing up for a race as the carrot for me to continue to move forward and stay fit until the day that I die. I plan on doing triathlons when I'm 80 years old. You know what I mean? It's just like,
or 120,
right? Or 120, right? Like I'm going to be looking sexy as fuck when I'm 80 or 120 because I'm still working out and chasing the carrot. So, right? I just think more people have to figure out what that carrot is for them to stay fit, stay healthy, and not keep falling off the track. Because like, you know, yeah, you could buy an online program and do an online challenge or whatever. Like, yeah, that's fun and all, but but like at any time you could go to your mouse and click on that program and drag and drop it into the delete button. But when you put money on the line and it scares the hell out of you, and then you're telling your friends that you've went and signed up for this thing that's $300 or $100, whatever it may be, you're like, okay, now I have money on the line. My friends know about it, and now I need to work out and make the most out of what I just invested into, right? Put money on the line, put the carrot in front of your face, and get the job done. And then find that next thing that's going to allow you to keep pushing forward to, live the lifestyle that you want to live. So
I love that. I love that mentality.
Oh my God. Okay. So first of all, not carrot, pizza. But
pizza. Oh yes, pizza. I'm in. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm not running after a carrot here.
I'm like, who runs towards a carrot?
Yes. Let's change it. Pizza. I'm in. Yes. Like. I love pizza.
Number 2. Okay. So we should have you as we'll do a partnership, Talking 20, and Shiftwork athlete. You are going to be our motivational speaker, and Bridget and I, you and I are going to sign up for one of these things.
I am there to support every step of the way.
On the podcast right now, let's just sign up for Tough Mudder.
I'm in it. I'm like, let's do it now. Let's do it. I'm in.
I'll do it with you, Mary. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah,
I would too. Do you want to do it? Okay. Okay, Spencer, will you emotionally support us and make sure we don't quit?
I love this idea. This is fun. Okay.
100%. I'll actually come out and film it, and we'll all do it together.
Oh my God. This is amazing. And okay, we'll figure this out later, but I'm like, we can do like, we'll tell everyone when it is, and then we'll maybe like document our process, and then Spencer will do like a check-in podcast at some point where we'll just like break down and cry, and you'll make us feel better. Okay.
Yes. Yo, that is something that I would love to do, honestly, is to like motivate people, and like I said, have a community where we all go out and do this together. And I'd love to capture that. That's another reason why I started the YouTube, right? Is the moments like that, like like that just it gives me butterflies. Like that's what I want to hear and get more from the community that I want to build. You know what I mean? Is that same feeling that I feel when I go and I stand at that starting line and be like, holy shit, like this is happening. Like this is, I'm about to swimming. I just learned how to swim 2 years ago, going to my first half Ironman, which is 70.3 miles. Okay?
Oh my God. So okay, we're not doing that, but we'll support you.
No, you don't have to go to that. You don't have to go to that length just yet, but it just goes to show you what you can. Like I started small and worked myself up right to something to that moment. But like, being off from swimming for 2 years, well, like I was swimming a little bit and stuff like that, but like standing at that starting line and being like, I'm about to swim 2,000 meters. You know what I mean? So like it's so hard to comprehend, and like once you get in the water and it starts, you're just like, okay, I'm here now. I can't turn back. You know what I mean? Like this moment is going to be the best moment of my life because I've thought about it, I've trained for it, and that euphoric feeling that you get and the emotional attachment to it. Every time I run through a finish line, I cry because I'm like, I did it. And I feel so
I love that. I want to feel that.
Yeah. Oh my God. I want to feel that, and I want those abs you were talking about.
We're 10 years behind, Mary. We got to get up.
Got you.
So my brother has done some pretty intense training through the years, and my boyfriend's currently training for a marathon, and they're hitting the height of he's hitting the height of training right now that is very mentally exhausting, getting to the point where it's like, okay, like, can we just do this tomorrow? Which watching the training my brother did for this other program he did was very similar. Like they both had these stages of mental points where you're like, this is all in your mind now. Like almost like not wanting it to be over, but just like, I'm ready. I can't train anymore. Let's just go. Get me in this. There's fear. There's wanting to throw up, Bridget. Like those feelings
happens quite often.
Yeah. So do you rid yourself of those like feelings now in those mental stages? Like you keep training and you keep crossing that hurdle every time you get to the start line and finish line. Now, you're going into the next thing. Do you still get those mental hurdles? Do you still get those like fearful moments? Like, what the hell am I doing?
So I think that's the nice thing about starting small. It allows you to have a picture that you could kind of reflect back on. And so whenever I started doing triathlon, it's like, I've been here before. this sucked the first time, but it's going to be better the next, right? So I just think like once you experience it for the first time, the fear was there. Like, yeah, I was nervous. I was scared. I'm like, I could potentially drown, you know what I mean? And then I won't get to race ever again. So it's like, okay, I got to finish the race so I could race again, right? So, but I don't know. I just think I've always kind of been mentally strong just through my ups and downs, and being in the military too. You know, you go through sleep deprivation training, and I found that I might be a little bit unique when it comes down to my mental toughness, and it is something that can be trained, and not everybody is. Like, I love the moments when things suck. Like, I remember there's certain moments in the military where like it'd be raining out, we're all muddy head to toe, and I'm having a good time eating Skittles, and I'm like, I love this. Like, and there's people being like, I just want to be warm, right? So I like the moments when they suck. I embrace them, and it comes down to the mental perspective about it, right? Like, you could either just get sucked into the scenario that you're in and manifest it to be super negative, or you could just look for those little moments of positive and roll with it. Because, you know, before the rain and the mud came, I was super hot and sweaty head to toe, and I could smell the dude next to me. But now it's raining out, I can't smell anybody. You know, I'm feeling nice and refreshed from the rain. This is my first shower in 4 days. So I think just over the years I've been able to really build that mental toughness and keep reminding myself that, yeah, it sucks right now, but you know what, if I keep moving forward, I'm going to feel better. You know what I mean? And so you just have to keep finding those opportunities where you get to work on that mental toughness.
And I wonder if it's because of that mentality that you had to have when you were in high school and you went off Ritalin and you had to get through all of these hurdles that were being thrown at you, you were able to develop that mental toughness early on.
No, I believe so. Yeah, because everything since I started school has been a hurdle. Everything in my life has been a hurdle. And, you know, I think if you always run away from the struggles, like I said, you're never going to grow, right? So I've researched into a lot of self-help books. I've done a lot of reading, and, you know, learned from the people that have also struggled. That it's normal to struggle. You can't always be a winner. And if you always win, you're never going to learn how to struggle. And when you do struggle or fail something, it's going to be harder for you to understand because you're so used to winning. So, you know, when you do have a moment where you struggle, it's going to crumble you and it's going to break you. Right. So I think if you could try to find more opportunities where you can make yourself feel uncomfortable, where you could put yourself in a position where you may potentially not know something, or you're going to fail, you're going to grow from that. So keep seeking those things, because you're going to always be able to become a better person from those opportunities, because you can't always win. And for me, I have lost more than I have won. So
you just hit the nail on the head.
Yeah. Such great advice. And yeah. Woo! I'm sweating.
Yeah.
Well, Spencer, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I could honestly, Mary and I could talk to you all day. Yeah, this has
been fantastic. Thank you.
So relatable. I also found another thing that I think that we all relate on is that we all have had numerous jobs that don't really connect into one another. And I think it's probably because we all have ADHD.
You're like, I want to do that, and I want to do that, and I want to do that, and I'm going to do that.
And now I don't like this anymore.
But that's what life is all about. You know what I mean? Like, you got to try new things, right? Like, it blows my mind. There's people that I work with at the job that I'm at. They're like, oh, I'm here 38 years. I can't wait to retire. I'm like, I'm ready to get out of here yesterday. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, this is this is just a stepping stone for me to move into something more. Like, I'm using my job right now to mind my own business, which is this. You know what I mean? Right? So, like, it's just
Absolutely.
You know, that's just something that you're going to use as a ladder to get you to the top roof of the bigger picture. You know what I mean? So,
if people wanted to get in contact with you for any reason, I think we forgot to ask you this at the beginning. We usually ask people if they're okay with that. I assume that you are, seeing as you are a public figure now.
Absolutely. Yes, I am. Hello, world. I'm back.
Yeah, you're back. You came back with a bang.
That's right.
So if people wanted to reach out with you, how could they do that?
Okay, so yeah, you could find me on Instagram at @theshiftworkathlete. You could also email me at theshiftworkathlete@gmail.com. I find that those are the best way to contact me. I'm not ready yet to give out my number for those late night text messages. So, and you shoot me a DM. Like, I'm always interested in connecting with people and collaborating. doing. I've actually had a handful of people, or two people, making myself sound
That's
like
a
a famous.
handful. I mean, that's
a handful,
like
right?
in my hand.
Right? Yeah. So I've had a couple people reach out, and it's been very eye-opening that it's like, okay, cool, people love what I'm doing, and the fact that they want to collaborate with me with something, like, I'm totally open-minded. I love anything that's fitness, so if you guys want to collaborate on fitness or whatever,
we do.
Yeah, let's talk, right? And yeah, so
great. So this has been another episode of the Talking 20 podcast. Make sure to follow, subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on your favorite streaming platform to help us grow, and follow along with our shenanigans on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Talking 20 Podcast. Also, make sure to follow Spencer's podcast, The Shiftwork Athlete, on your favorite podcast streaming platform. Again, really helps us to grow. Thanks for listening.